all of us, we're all clients in some industry, right? Some of us are getting life insurance and some of us are buying a new car, right? We're all used to being customers. And a lot of the conversations, even as customers in the same town, not even in different towns, are having conversations like this, obviously because of the last couple of years changes, but now it's just easier. So there's a lot to show you. Save your questions, however y'all want to handle this. I'm imagining you're saving the questions for the end because there's a lot to get through. I think the most important piece is to note that a lot of our competitors are doing this. We sat on a Stratmore call last week that talked about the capabilities that Mortgage Coach has that they'll walk through. And they said, this is now the way borrowers are preferring to work. So here it is, as usual, we're right on timing to make sure we are hanging with market expectations. So thanks so much for all of you for joining and for Mortgage Coach for giving us the time. Go for it.
I have to say before we start, you guys are so fortunate to have the vision that you have in Catherine Campbell, because there are a lot of lenders that are just stuck in the past, and those lenders are not going to be able to compete in the market of the future. So I applaud Catherine for just, allowing Mortgage Coach to have the opportunity to be with y'all today to talk about how we can continue to help build your brand in the markets that you serve. So I have here my name is Dawn Shervine. I'm responsible for the sales organization and strategy. I have with me Chris Marakian, who is the account manager assigned to Assurance Financial. And I have Jacob Gibbs, who is our VP of technology, who is here to support us as well. And our president, Joe Couture, may join us at some point during the meeting today. But first of all, I want to say, as you guys are looking to round out 2021 and fast forwarding to 2022, what's your biggest fear? Throw it out there. What's your biggest challenge?
So let me do this. So the thing that I really wanted that's driving me crazy about my third rack on my hours.
Can y'all control muting? Yeah, got it. Come on, guys. Damon, are you piping up here? Market compression due to lack of refis.
Yep. So now we're faced with building our purchase business, right?
Increasing rate environment.
Increasing rate environment. Thank you, Mortgage Mike. Absolutely. Anything else? Sandy says reaching clients without a voice.
Sandy lost her voice, unfortunately. No, I mean, literally lost her voice from illness. So
Sandy, I'm so
she's
sorry.
probably making a little tongue in cheek because she's so great, but she really has lost her voice. So it's been a tough year for her for sure.
Well, we're going to have ways that you don't need your voice, that you're going to have beautiful charts and graphs that can speak for you. All right. All right. So just to add a few, you're right. You guys are right on, right? But then we hear things like Fed tapering, and we hear inflation, and we hear jobs reports. And you know what? All of that stuff affects one thing: interest rates, right? So I'm going to share my screen real quick, and we'll talk about what does the moves in the market, what does that do to put fear in the minds of realtors, loan originators, the people that run your organization, loan originators, borrowers, you name it. Everybody hears about the focus on mortgage interest rates. And so what we want to do is to pivot that conversation. Hold on, let me get right. To helping you have every piece of ammunition that you need to counteract that interest rate question, that margin compression question, that low inventory, all of the things, the seasonality, the cyclicality that our industry faces. So with Mortgage Coach, our whole goal is to help you become the preferred mortgage lender in the markets you serve, not just with your borrowers, but with your realtors and business referral sources, because we know that pretty much the industry ignored realtors in 2020. And now we're trying to heal those relationships and deepen them and create them anew again. So the realtor equation is just as important for us. But we also know that because there's so much focus on that darn interest rate, that there are a lot of other challenges that come with that. And y'all mentioned a few of them. So margin compression, absolutely. Well, what does margin compression lead you to do? Ask for price exceptions, right? Probably maybe too often, or maybe higher than what you normally do, because you're trying to stop the rate shopping and get that borrower to focus on something else. Your margins are thinning. Compliance is hard. Rates might not be competitive in your market. Getting realtors to return phone calls, borrowers that won't commit, and then just technology. And you guys are implementing some of the best technology. And that's why our goal is to make the integration of these technologies as seamless as possible. Well, what's on my screen right now is what we think and we know is one of the biggest problems that our industry faces. Because once that borrower comes to you with that one question, what's that question going to be? Anybody? Mortgage Mike, what's that first question that borrower is asking you?
What's my interest rate?
What's your interest rate? Absolutely, bingo. When you respond to that question, you'll get there for sure. But when you lead with that and you only respond with an interest rate, you have just created a commodity transaction in the mind of your borrower. You guys don't want to be a commodity. You know what? Nothing wrong with used car salesmen, but they can be commodity providers, right? Because you're competing on, a price tag on a window. So when you change the conversation from this, whether it's a loan estimate, a fee worksheet, an Excel spreadsheet, whatever you have the opportunity to change that price to advice conversation. And this is how Mortgage Coach does that. So you see status quo on this side. You guys are not status quo. You guys are armed with some of the most incredible technology in our industry. You can now move to a digital advice-based experience that allows you to move faster, work smarter, and work harder in just with a whole lot less of time with the haggling of interest rates back and forth. For managers and anybody that is really looking at a P&L in your organization, we know, or even just you as an originator, there are some things that we know that when you adopt Mortgage Coach, these things are going to happen. You will increase your conversion and pull through. This says by 20%, more often than not right now, we're finding by 30%. And you have the chance to do that within the first 30 days. So even if we fast forwarded and said the next 90 days while people are going into holiday season mode, you will come out in 2022 with a much more focused way that you are converting your borrowers faster. You'll increase your production by stopping that rate shopping conversation. Although I will say stop it forever, because we know that rate shoppers will always be out there, but you'll minimize that conversation. And again, within the first 6 months, you'll see your conversations changing and being able to get that rate shopper focused on something besides that interest rate. And then your referrals, because you have Total Expert, the integration that we have with Total Expert will show you how you can generate leads, about 20 to 30% more leads out of your past client database with the Mortgage Coach integration with Total Expert that automates a past client mortgage review. And then finally, you talked about margin compression. Because that rate conversation changes, because you're not focused on price exceptions, your profitability really can go up 10 to 20 to 30 bips more. Do I have your attention yet? Hope so. All right, so this is how we do it, right? So we transform the experience from confusion, commodity thinking, to something that is focused on education, transparency, and clarity. So the Mortgage Coach experience, when you put rates, fees, and cost of ownership, showing multiple loan options in the hands of your borrowers, these are the things that go with that. You have your personal branding that sits right there on this total cost analysis, or as we say, TCA. You have the branding of Assurance Financial. You have a description of the detail about your loan options that sits in the middle of the screen. And then if you have experience.com, I'm not sure, Catherine, I don't remember if you do, but you can put borrower reviews right within the total cost analysis. All right, as we look to the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see something that's really, really small in the upper right-hand corner called alerts and views. That may look like a small thing, but it's a huge thing, because when that borrower engages with your presentation, you're going to get a notification on your mobile device, in your web browser, or in your Mortgage Coach dashboard that lets you know that borrower is engaged. Because you may have finished your presentation or your consultation with them a couple of hours earlier over the phone or in a Zoom meeting. But at the end of the day, when that borrower goes back to their home and they want to share what they received from you with maybe a significant other, or possibly share it with a mom and dad who are providing gift funds, they have the ability to share this presentation electronically. And every time it's viewed, you get a notification. That's your cue to respond, to pick up the phone and ask the borrower what questions they have before they can go out and shop the next guy. And then, oops, sorry about that. Let me go back 1 minute. And then you'll see detailed charts and graphs. This is, a lot of learners today, or a lot of ways that people absorb knowledge is through illustration. And so we illustrate the differences in monthly payments between loan options. We also illustrate the growth in equity over the short term and the long term. And then finally, we compare interest rate paid, or MI, if it's applicable, over the life of the loan, both the short term and the long term. And then finally, in the bottom corner, but not last, but probably the most powerful, is your own personal video narration of the options that you put together for the borrower. The beauty of Mortgage Coach is, while we used to sit across the desk and take applications face to face, that's probably not the way you're doing it today. And so Mortgage Coach, long before the pandemic was here, we were in a position to deliver loan advice anytime, anywhere, on any device, whether it's the mortgage loan originator putting the transaction together or the borrower receiving it wherever they are, whether it's in the grocery store line, at a soccer field. You can be in touch with that borrower at any point in time. And then just to revisit, these are the 3 fundamentals of Mortgage Coach. The first, that you should have options. I mean, I'm a runner, right? So when I walk into a sporting goods store, I don't want to just have one running shoe to pick from. I want options. And the guy next to me wants options, because we have different ways of running or styles. And the same for you, when they're picking out a car or going to dinner, consumers want options. Because when they get options, and not too many of them, then they start owning the transaction and owning the decision. The next area is in cost over time. As I mentioned, both the short term and the long term, based upon that hopes and dreams and goals conversation that you had with the borrower, to ask them what they're trying to achieve with this home ownership. How long do they anticipate living there? Do they have any big debts that are lining up in the future? And then third is taking your advice beyond this transaction and showing a borrower how they can either reduce debt, or they can build equity through interest-bearing accounts, or do debt consolidations to help them achieve the goal of financial wealth through homeownership. This is just a very few options that you can put together with Mortgage Coach. Probably, rate refis and rate term refis, probably not so much going forward, but any type of purchase transaction, they're waiting to be had, whether it's rent versus own, cost of waiting. All borrowers here today, interest rates are going to go up, but when will they go up? And do I wait? Do I get off the fence? So how do you illustrate those things to the borrower? And the way that you do that is through loan comparison that addresses these different scenarios. And then I'd like to broaden your thinking of Mortgage Coach. You may be familiar with us, but we are more than just a platform to be used while you're working with a borrower as they go through the application and origination process. Combined with the power of your CRM, now you can use Mortgage Coach for lead generation. So if you're thinking about doing a campaign, for example, out to first-time home buyers or to millennials who are sitting on the fence trying to decide if they can afford a home, you can take one of those beautiful glossy assets that come with your CRM that typically show maybe a family getting keys to their very first home. But now you can show them an example of a total cost analysis that features rent versus own to help them really see the amount of money that they're flushing down the toilet every month and how they can improve their wealth building position by using homeownership as a vehicle to do that. So lead generation, the origination process, and then rinse and repeat after that loan closes. In any type of post-close outreach, whether it's in the form of an annual mortgage review or interest rates spike up, spike down, or just any type of conversation that might drive that borrower to have a conversation with you about how that home is working for them, how that loan is working for them, what changes are going on in their life, all opportunity to really mine the gold that's in your past client database. I'm going to just a little bit, this is like a testimony to conversion strategies. This particular loan officer realizes consistently 33% increase in conversion. We have results from a brand new loan originator, new to the industry during COVID and the pandemic, started in March. He came from the IT industry, and by July, he was closing, if you can look down here, 20 loans per month because he started day one using Mortgage Coach. And then this is just a little bit about our community. Not only do you get the platform, but you get access to our YouTube channel with thousands of videos of best practices, realtor scripts, borrower scripts. You get access to our Facebook private group, and then all of our integrations and a whole lot more. I'm going to stop there and ask what questions that you have before we jump into the actual platform itself. Okay, I see, lack of inventory, what are our fees? Okay, good. Looks like we covered a lot of the early topics about what's going on in the industry. So with that, Catherine, if you don't mind, we'll jump into a high level look at Mortgage Coach and the experience between a borrower and a loan originator by highlighting our how you as a mortgage originator can drive the presentation virtually with real-time highlighting and updating to try to keep that borrower engaged and be able to respond on a dime if the borrower needs to make a change or request a change. So I'm going to introduce Jacob Gibbs right now and have Jacob take it away.
All right. Well, thank you, Dawn. I wasn't actually prepared to show the live integration, but I can do that right now. I was going to start off with the Simple Nexus integration just to show kind of what the borrower side of the transaction looks like, but certainly open to however you'd like me to do this.
Hey, Jacob, this is Catherine. We actually have Blend. We're not using Simple Nexus. We have Blend for our point of sale system.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So no showing that one.
No.
All right, well then, hang on. I'm just going to wing it here real quick. So let me share my screen with you, and I'm going to run you through a presentation, show you what it looks like from the borrower end, and then what it looks like from the LO end when they're driving it. So hang tight for just a second here, and you'll see my screen coming into view here. And you can confirm that you're seeing my my Mortgage Coach advice engine.
Yes, we are.
All right, sweet. So let me just grab a sample file here that I have. So just to kind of give you a real high level view of what the Mortgage Coach engine looks like. The advice engine is based on the same type of questions that you're already asking your borrowers. So when you're having that initial consultation, and this could be pre-application, this could be, you know, they've already submitted an app and you're just trying to get some more detail about their financial situation so you can help choose the right types of loan products for them. These are the same questions you're already asking. So things like, you know, basic contact information. Are they a homeowner already, or are they renting right now? What's their contact information in case I lose this call or something so I can get them back. And you'll notice that a lot of these fields in here, there's very few that are actually required. So for example, the first name field is a required field because that's required to save it. But things like contact information, you know, say for instance, you haven't identified a property yet, you don't need a property address in here yet. You might need a state or something to run some of your integrations, like getting things like pricing for a particular property. But as you go through this wizard, just keep in mind that this can actually function perfectly well without any contact information. It can just be a couple of loan products next to each other. But as you continue through this, and you'll notice you can actually skip around in the wizard, you don't necessarily have to go in order, but it's going to do things like it's going to ask you what your client's goals are. So in this case, my client wanted to purchase a new home. All right, great. So let's collect a little bit of more information about what we're trying to do. Well, you know, what kind of a purchase price are we looking at right here? All right, great. Got my purchase price in. And then how much can they afford? So let's make sure they, you know, their DTI ratios aren't going to be way out of whack. You know, let's put in their annual income there, and then let's get their mortgage debt. Let's find out how much non-mortgage debt they have right now. And let's actually make that the total, not the payment. There we go. And then things like, do they have enough money in their savings account to be able to afford the down payment? This is pretty important. I got to have enough in there. So, we'll put in whatever they've got. And then the savings interest rate, you can leave all these fields empty, but certainly the more you complete, the more robust the report's going to end up being on the outside. And then finally, when you're done with that, you're going to compare a couple of loan products for them. And you're going to find that, you'll have borrowers that come in, you eyeball it and you're like, well, they really only qualify for one type of loan. That's okay. Show them two variations of the same loan. Show them one with some, so like a slightly higher rate so it can cover their closing costs. There's all kinds of options that you can put in here. But the most critical thing is to give them a good graphic representation that compares at least two loan products so they can really wrap their head around, why am I going to an originator for this versus just picking myself? Well, I need some education about these. So you can see here, I put together a couple of real basics here. I've got this Fannie Mae Home Ready. I actually did the same option, but just at slightly different prices here. So you can see I've got things like the purchase price and the down payment. I've got my rate in there. Using things like the Optimal Blue integration will allow you to reach out and get pricing. So let's say, for instance, I don't have a rate on this guy yet. I can actually hit my get pricing button. I can reach out for pricing on this one, and it'll return me back a list of relative products that'll work for this. So there's my Home Ready 30, and that's, here, let's take the low rate. So we'll get that. As soon as I select it, it's actually going to change the rate here in my column. So I'm good there. I can do things like I can itemize out the closing costs, and I'll show you what this looks like on the output in just a minute here. But these can be stored as templates. So you really don't have to do a whole lot of thinking with this. You just grab a template and apply it. And then you're going to do this again for another product to compare it against. And you can see in this case, this is a slightly higher rate, and maybe they got a little bit of a rebate for that rate. And then the final output, the way you deliver it to your borrower is you're going to generate a link. So I'm going to put a quote date on this because this is, anytime you push out rates, you want to tie it to a date. And then I'm going to hit this generate share link button. And this is the link that I would actually send to my borrower. And normally I'm going to also put a video on this, but for the sake of today's call, I just want to show you what this is going to look like. So when you hit add audio video, it shows you a preview of what the output presentation is, and it gives you the option for how you want to record a video. Do you want to shoot it over to your mobile phone to record it? Do you want to do it here in the web browser? I'm going to choose web browser, and then you'll see it actually shows me here in the screen. It just pops up a video player. You hit record and start talking. Hi, Mr. Borrower, thanks for your time on the phone this morning. As we talked about, and we know you're looking at that 3% down payment option. So I showed you a couple of different variations with different rates and different rebates that you can get to help you cover closing costs. When you're done viewing this presentation, make sure to give me a call. You're going to have questions on this and I have answers for you. Have a wonderful day. Tell Joe Realtor I said hi, and he's great. Hit stop, upload this guy. And this is now attached to the digital link that you're going to send your borrower. So you'll see this takes just a couple of seconds, and there we go. Video has been uploaded. Now that same link here, if I was to actually send this to my borrower right now, they're going to get this experience. I'm actually going to put this in the chat for you so you guys can all click on this link. So if you would, jump over to your Zoom chat and go ahead and click on this link when you get an opportunity. And I'm actually going to drive you through the presentation. So if you've got two monitors, that helps a lot. Move the screen that you just clicked on, move that one over to one monitor and keep the Zoom open in the other monitor so you can see what I'm doing. But the idea is you can drive this link in front of your borrower and you can change things and affect them in real time. So let's hope we got a couple of people viewing this right now. Now, as the LO, I would have just gotten a notification that says your presentation has been viewed by whatever this person's name is. It's going to tell me how long you've been viewing it for. And then if I jump into the presentation itself from a preview mode, what Don was talking about earlier, you see how I have the views up at the top and they're just growing now. We've got 12 people looking at it at the moment. And as more people click on that link, I'm going to see this view rate growing higher and higher. There we go. There's a 13th that just clicked on it. Now, what's really cool about this, if you've clicked on my link, the first thing you got was you got my disclosures. So this is obviously sample information. You click to accept the disclosure as the borrower, and then you're left off in my report where you have my video playing. You can certainly stop it, you can reduce it, do whatever you need to. But as the LO, I just got your notification and I'm calling you up. Hi, Mr. Borrower. Thanks for clicking on my presentation. I wanted to drive through this with you real quick, just to make sure you understand everything that we're looking at. So if you've got my report open right now, you're going to notice that I just highlighted that first column. Now, the first column is actually going to be the best rate we can get for that 3% down payment. You'll notice here, I'm going to highlight the rate for you. That's 2.625. Now, the second option we had is a slightly higher rate. And you can see it's actually the same loan. It's just a little bit bigger rate. The difference is you're going to get a little bit of money back to help with your closing costs, and that's going to affect your cash to close. So I would highlight things like cash to close here. And then as I continue having this conversation with you, my borrower, I'm going to say, you know what? Okay, we've looked at just the summary information. Let's really dive into the details on this. I'm going to pop out a section for you so you can see what the monthly costs are tied to each of these transactions. You can see that there's things like mortgage insurance on each one. And then you can see what your total monthly payment is going to be. And then I'm going to drive you over to the closing costs. And I'd like you to take a look. These are the itemized fees that will be charged on each transaction. And you can see here, you had a question about what our loan origination fee was. I went ahead and just highlighted that for you on your screen right now. Now, keep in mind that these are on both options, so you can certainly feel free to click through these after we're done here. I just wanted to show you where everything was real quick. Finally, a reinvestment area. Now, I didn't put a reinvestment on this particular option here, but this is where you would show your borrower what they could do by taking an extra X amount of dollars and putting it straight back into principal every month to reduce their freedom point, pay off the loan a little bit faster. Or, you know, you're showing them how to put money back into their savings account to generate a liquid asset, or even a new investment vehicle. So I didn't fill it out in this particular presentation, everybody, but this is where you would be showing your borrower that part. And then finally, as you go through the right side of the graphics, you get to the visual learner part. Then it's, okay, Mr. Borrower, I just clicked on the savings you can get on that first option with the lower rate. It's going to save you about $50 a month. But more critically, if you look over the 5-year period of time, it's going to save you about $4,000 in interest. So that's really what we're basing our savings over the long term on. And you'll notice that at the bottom here, when we look at the graphs on the very bottom, it's actually $13,000 more in interest in the 15-year point if we take option 2. So it looks like option 1 is going to be the best for you for right now. However, with that extra rebate you're getting on option 2, that could help if you're kind of close on getting the cash to close together. So when you're done viewing this, again, talk it over with your significant other, talk it over with the people you need to, and then get back with me. Let's decide which one is going to be the best option for you. Remember, rates change daily, so we want to make sure we get you locked in at the best rate possible. That's how I would actually present this to a borrower in real time. So you've actually just been driven through a presentation as the borrower. But keep in mind, this is a link, so they can come back and revisit this. They can keep watching your videos, and you're going to find your borrowers will do that. They'll come back in and review this presentation over and over and over again. Or they'll get a loan estimate from some other originator, and they'll look at that, and then they'll come back in to view your presentation because they want to see what's the big difference here. And they're going to see that you're giving them so much more to really look at than what another originator is giving with a loan estimate, that loan estimate starts looking pretty poor. So I'll kind of stop there real quick. It looks like there's a couple of questions in the chat. Damien asks, is the closing cost pattern fully customizable for each LO? So closing costs, the way they're done is they can actually be set at the organizational level. They can be set at the branch location level, and they can be set at the user level. So for example, I can actually save any set of fees here as a new template if I want to, if I just want to save a template for myself. Or I can pull down templates that have already been predefined. You know, maybe I saved one before, or this came from a branch template. Or indeed, if I've already got fees on here, I can simply change these if I need to. I can associate different fees with this. I can change the dollar amounts if I need to. You can fully customize these down to what you need to be. And what a lot of people do is, you know, the branch templates and organization templates are kind of going to be used as your cookie cutter parts. And then you'll make minor modifications to those. So you'll pull down a template and say, oh, you know what, you know, I need to charge a pest inspection fee for this one. And it's not part of the template. So you would go in, you would add a fee, and then go down to the P's, select your pest inspection, pop in your dollar amount, and then apply it to the loan. And you're good to go. That's actually saved to the loan. You can see it grays out these fields because these are the totals being taken from your individual fees. Question from Richard. This can't be used on rental loans, can it? Or rather, do I have to bundle sales price plus rental costs into one loan? So if you're referring kind of like the 203K type of loan, the second statement you made is perfectly correct. You're going to use the improved value of the home, and then you're going to do your financing against that improved value. But yeah, you can absolutely handle rental loans in our system. Great question, Richard. And it looks like there's a question for Catherine. Will the OB integration be turned on?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the whole point of this, guys, is to make sure that we integrate across all the tools they integrate with, which includes Sales Boomerang, Optimal Blue, Total Expert. They really have already done these integrations, so there's nothing too new. We could get started relatively quickly.
And Dawn, where would you like to go from here?
I think we could talk about the Sales Boomerang integration. It's hard to show because it happens behind the scenes. But today with Sales Boomerang, you're all familiar, I'm sure, with the trigger leads, right? So they have 7 or 8 different types of trigger leads. They show up in the Mortgage Coach platform under the automated tab, as Jacob is showing right now. But there's one small difference, although it is actually a very big difference from the loan originator standpoint working with the borrower, in that when the trigger lead is created, Mortgage Coach is adding a total cost analysis as an example to the borrower who maybe is shopping for a new home, or maybe is looking to refi, or maybe has gained a lot of equity in their home. And you can sample a TCA that can illustrate something to the borrower that's more than just you picking up the phone and calling them because a trigger lead was put into your queue. So now you take away that little bit of uncomfortableness of reaching out and calling the borrower because there was a trigger lead that happened. Now you have something of value to begin the conversation. So exactly what Jacob has shown you here, that will be delivered electronically through the integration with Sales Boomerang. Does that make sense, everyone?
And with Sales Boomerang, you know the types of alerts you're already getting. They're basically just telling you, hey, this borrower just pulled credit, or this borrower, had a change in circumstance. Their equity grew on their current property, and it might be time for a cash out refi. And there's not a lot of data in Sales Boomerang. It's really just trigger points to say, hey, you need to reach out to this borrower because they are taking actions within the lending space that you should be aware of. So what they send over for this is they let you know who was the borrower, what alert triggered this. So this was a rate alert in particular. And then they try and fill out what they can. So if they've got an email address and a phone number, they'll bring it in. They'll bring in a property address because they'll always have that. And then when we get to things like the assumption section, this is actually where they'll bring in some current mortgage data. So this is from the last transaction that was closed. This is the one that they're basing the alert on. So this rate alert was basically telling me that, hey, their current rate is 3.6. There's a better rate available for them. So it's time to prepare an analysis. So as the originator, I'm going to pick up this alert and I'm going to say, okay, I know what this person, what this alert was comprised of. I might be able to get them a better rate. Let me fill out the rest of the detail on this presentation. So I'm going to jump back and look at my records and say, what was this particular loan? The one thing that Sales Boomerang does not have is a term. So you're going to need to go back and check what term that original loan was because it's not on the public record. But from there, all you're going to do is compose a new refinance against it. And let's go back and grab a property value for this guy. So I'm just going to compose a new refinance against this one. And then I'm going to go and do my search for Optimal Blue pricing here. And you'll notice if I didn't have contact information in there, it will ask me right here, but the first time I enter it, it's going to store it for me. So I'll pop it in there. And looking good there. There we go. There's my options that I can get from OB. You can sort them by rate if you want. You can even sort them by rebate, which tends to be kind of important here. So I will just do the Fannie Mae standard, hit OK there. It has now popped in my rate for me. And this presentation is pretty much done. If I was to preview it right now, I'd actually see two options on the presentation. I'd see their current mortgage, and I'd see the new prospective refinance that I could offer them. And then I can see that I'm saving them $50 a month by doing this. So at this point, you know, it looks like it could be worth it, at least to get this in front of my borrower. We know that rates are better than what they currently have right now. You know, when we do things like add closing costs in here, this 60-month analysis is your real decision maker. When you have kind of an iffy situation where you can only reduce their rate by less than half a point or something like that, got to make sure it's worth it for them to do the transaction, especially on a rate and term refinance. It may not be worth it for them to pay $8,000 in closing costs to reap a reward of $2,000 in interest savings over time, but it's still worth showing them. I've got your back. You know, I know that you're out looking at different mortgage options right now. It's probably not the greatest time for you to do a regular rate and term refinance, but are you thinking of any type of cash out refinance that might work for you? You're looking to improve your home. You know, what's triggering the looking right now? Maybe I can help you get this done. But the idea is get them some numbers, get in front of them, let them know that you're looking out for their best interest. And even if it's not the right time for refinance, at least you're the one that delivered that information. So when the next loan officer comes in and just tries to snake the deal, even though it's not going to do the borrower any good, the borrower is going to know better. That's really where that educational standpoint comes in as a mortgage coach originator. And I'll stop there. Dawn, where do you want to go next?
I think just some fun stuff as you get started. As you know, there have been some questions in the chat about training and onboarding, and we provide a full range of customized onboarding services for your organization. So as you can see here, what Jacob is showing is our settings part of Mortgage Coach. And there are a couple things here. When we get ready to onboard you, we help you come in and set up all your product templates and your fee templates so that you don't have to do that anymore. You just simply select. We also will introduce the gamification part of Mortgage Coach, which, Jacob, if you could click our thing there, we have a series of belt progression tracking that we do with all users that are new to Mortgage Coach. And this gets to become a fun and exciting thing. So everybody starts out at a baseline of being a white belt. And as you master Mortgage Coach and as you master strategies that you can illustrate to borrowers with Mortgage Coach, you earn your way up to the belt system. So with a little bit of fun competition, you know, branch could go against branch, LOs within a branch could go against each other to help you drive, you know, that shared learning of everybody being lifted up by the use of changing the way that your brand delivers this whole concept of borrower advice instead of price to your to the market. Jacob, if you could just also jump into our YouTube channel real quick. I mentioned Mortgage Coach is more than a platform. It's really a community, and it's supported by extensive training and onboarding, as I mentioned. It also is supported by an amazing group of users, different types of providers to the that are all working together in the interest of helping this whole industry rise above just quoting rates and fees and total cost of ownership. So you'll see here when you log on or subscribe to the Mortgage Coach channel, you'll have loan originators in all walks of life, whether they're first-time originators. We have how to get started as a new loan originator playbooks. We have top producer strategies. As I mentioned, every year we hold something called Scriptapalooza, which the best of the best share their best realtor scripts or their best CPA scripts or borrower scripts. How to use social media. There's just a wealth of information at your fingertips for you to grow your business and become different than the guy next door that's not taking advantage of these resources. Catherine, I think if there might be, all right, so it looks like Damien says, can we see one more example? Sales price 350, 375 at 5% down conventional versus 3.5 down FHA. Yes.
Sure thing. I'm going to do it right now. Oh, I spelled your name wrong. Hang on a second. All right, there we go. All right, so we want a purchase. And okay, so we want 350 and 375. So we're going to end up with 4 total products. So we're going to do the 350s first. And let's go ahead and add my FHA product. Let's see if I've got one in here. There we go. Okay, let's pop in a rate from OB.
Well, Pulling that out, I'll answer Jeff's question. Jeff, if you're creating a rent versus own comparison, you can have the rental property with an additional 4 options. Anything, a purchase transaction, you can have up to 4 options that you can choose to put together. But having said that, you can show the borrower 4 options. And if the borrower is really not comfortable and they want to see something else, you can go in and add another product option and just simply take one of them off. So essentially it can be endless. But again, you know, you don't want to confuse the borrower. And we have found that, you know, between 2 to 4 is a sweet spot.
So what I'm doing right now is I'm going to do the 5% down conventional, same price, but instead of an FHA, I'm going to do the conventional at 3%. I'm going to remove my rate there, get pricing for this guy. This will show me the conventional options. There we go. We'll go with the home ready. And then my closing costs are already in there because I used a template. I need to modify my monthly costs here. Matter of fact, this is where you can use the get MI pricer if you want. So let's do that. We'll choose an MI company. I'm just going to put in any stuff here real quick. This is going to be a home ready. And we hit next. And then we accept that. And okay, so I'm actually just going to rename these real quick just so it makes a little bit more sense. So this one is this one is 2%. These are both at 350. And you get the idea, Damien, here. If we were going to do alternate products, we could do up to 4 here. So we can change up the nomenclature as needed. 350K. All right. So I've got my 350 options. These could be 5% instead of 3%. I know you asked for that, so apologies there. But I'm going to add another product here, and I'm just going to do the exact same thing, but I'm going to do them for the 375 price point. So I'm going to copy from another product, so I don't have to redo this. And we will call this one 3.5%. 75. Go. My purchase price. I'm still within the same rate range, so I'm not going to do a new search there. So I'm okay on that. Let's go ahead and add one more product. And this time I'm going to copy the Fannie Mae. And then just change this to 375. Name this guy. $75K. There we go. And then obviously, if I needed to make any changes to any of it, I could. But let's take a look at what we've got in our presentation. All right, so there we go. These are our 375 options, and then these are our 350 options. So the comparison between them, we can see the Fannie Mae 3.5% down at 375K is the highest payment option. Everything else is showing a savings relative to that highest payment. Same thing happens in the savings over 60 months. This one actually pays the most interest in MI over the 60 months. They all have roughly the same closing costs. So the real difference here is this guy right there. You can see all the other ones are significantly less interest in mortgage insurance over time. But this is a real good use case for, you know, how much am I going to need to bring in? My borrower has 20 grand, so you can afford any of these. So what's really the best option for them? Well, we know that this Fannie Mae 3% down at 350K is the lowest option. between these two. We know it's also the lowest option at the 375K mark. So now it's really a matter of, okay, we just need to figure out exactly what purchase price we're going to end up getting here. And then for all of you LOs, you know how purchase prices can change dramatically, right? I mean, you might get to closing and now you've got an appraisal gap. So what do you have to do about that? Well, all Mortgage Coach presentations are dynamic, which means you can change these presentations on the fly. So for example, if this one came in and you know what, we find out it's actually going to go at 400, I can change that on the fly. I'll do that for both of these guys. And then we're actually going to see that the output presentation is also going to change for me. So if I go and do a preview there, or actually I can just take a look at the one that's already open, but you can see it updated on the fly for me. Now it's showing the $400,000 carriage there. So you can change these, modify them. It keeps an audit trail of your modifications too. So lots of good stuff that you can do with this. I would say keep it simple at first for your borrower. You don't want to overload them with too much information. You want to give them just a few options that there might be different types of loan products. And then as you fine tune what they're looking for, then start breaking out variations of the loan products.
Damian, Jacob just showed you one approach to how to do those 4 comparisons. There is another way based upon your workflow. And let's say that you just had the borrower consultation and you are in Optimal Blue. Jacob, I'm gonna throw you a curve here. So in this instance, instead of starting in Mortgage Coach, you could start in Optimal Blue and pull your product and pricing options at the beginning and then go into Mortgage Coach and do some of the updating that Jacob did. So this is the Optimal Blue interface as you probably know it today. He's going to just go ahead and pick maybe a borrower in the pipeline. And in this particular case, you would do exactly what you do day in, day out, where you would complete the profile for the borrower, right? But the difference happens when you get to this screen where you see the Mortgage Coach button and you see a column that is dedicated to Mortgage Coach. So in this case, Jacob would go ahead and pick the different options, the product and pricing options that you had suggested that he compare. And he can actually drive down into above or below par pricing if he wanted to do that. So you could see here how he's picking all 4 of the products at once. And then once he clicks into Mortgage Coach, the button at the top, now Mortgage Coach and Optimal Blue are working together to package all of that data at once. And this is where Jacob could fine tune the names of the products at comparison for the borrower, since the borrower doesn't know a lot of our lingo and our language. And once that's complete, then he simply clicks the Launch Mortgage Coach button. And now all of that product and pricing data is being sent to Mortgage Coach. And then you can go into Mortgage Coach and do some of the updating that Jacob did when he was starting in Mortgage Coach. So the point of it is that we just really support optimal workflows based upon how you work and what system that you're currently in. Oh, he's saying our OB will not run a conventional and Govy rate at the same time. Can you run 2 separate and send a Mortgage Coach?
Yes, absolutely. That's a great question. So one of the cool parts about that little modal that we just selected there. So I've selected 3 different products. These are all conventionals, right? What I can do is I can go back and modify my search. So when I come back into the search here, now I'm going to search FHA, submit that. And I can add options from this search to that same queue. So let's say I select this guy here. When I hit the Mortgage Coach button, I'm now going to see 4 options. So there's those first 3 conventional options. There's my FHA option. I can then package these and send them to Mortgage Coach. I know that's huge for loan officers. It sucks having to go back and research over and over and over again and trying to repackage information. So this should help dramatically because you can do multiple searches, tag them for where you want them, and then once you've got your package ready, send it over to Mortgage Coach.
Catherine, we can open it up for questions, or if you would just want to give us some direction as to how we move forward from here, we're open to that.
Absolutely, guys, start chatting away. If you have questions in the chat, or if you just want to unmute yourself, feel free to do that. The next step is I'm going to get with all of you pretty quickly here. If you would let Terry and Clavis know your level of interest, that would save me some time. But you can just shoot me a quick note on Teams if you're interested. I think generally I get so excited when I look at something like this, because the complexity that you guys have to go through to just get to a simple rate. We don't have any competing product in our own stack that offers something like this, and talk about a game changer when people are talking to multiple, they're shopping you against other people. It's just an absolute game changer. So let's see, do borrowers see Mortgage Coach brand or just Assurance? Just Assurance. They don't actually get that logo from Mortgage Coach there.
You'll see a little bit of both, just to clarify. So when you first load a presentation, your presentation is going to have your Assurance logo on here. It's going to have your images and so forth. But when the borrower first views it, they are going to see this screen that has that Mortgage Coach icon, and then it's going to run straight into yours. So I don't want you to think our logo is completely gone. It is going to show in that interstitial screen, but once they get to your presentation, it'll be strictly branded for you.
Good deal. Fantastic. Good. I'm glad you
Damien, to address your question real quick, once you've pushed it over from Optimal Blue, so you've hit this Launch Mortgage Coach button, you jump back over to your advice engine and go to the Automated tab, and you pick it up from the Automated tab. So something like this guy here, there's an Optimal Blue record that got sent over. So then I can now pick it up. I can modify the options that got sent over. I can add to them, remove them. I can choose to suppress options from view. Oftentimes you might start off with 4 options, and then as you refine what the customer is actually looking for, you'll remove certain options from the presentation. So just kind of keep it in mind, it's really a fluid presentation that you want to use from the start to the finish of the transaction.
Awesome. And guys, what is your startup time from the time we would sign? How long would it take us to get rolling?
So typically we assign an onboarding specialist to work with you. She'll set up a kickoff meeting, if you will. The initial couple week or so is really dedicated, Catherine, to getting the infrastructure set up. So when we talked about the product templates, the fee templates, maybe the customized training that you want to get put into the system, we get that environment set up. And then we work with you and your team. There are between 5 to 7 training sessions that we'll set up based upon, you telling us what ones you want or don't want. But we do go through all the basics. So within, a month to a month and a half, you can be up and running, but it's really based upon how quickly you want to move.
Okay. Good deal. I would imagine you guys would want to move quickly, and I do too.
Yes.
Okay, well.
We had one client that they decided they wanted 9 months to roll out, and we're like, what?
No, we don't do things like that here. That's for sure. So good deal. If any other last questions here, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I will be in touch with you guys tomorrow. So if y'all could go ahead and just quickly let me, Terry, Clavis know, we're going to get a feel from everything, make sure that we get a contract back. And then obviously Kenny and I will discuss, how we will go about offering, either subsidizing or offering, or maybe the branches pay for this. I'm not sure of that. So I know that's going to be a big question for everybody. So once I get those numbers back, we'll start to make some decisions from there, but definitely we'll pursue the conversation.
So Willie does have a question that I'd like to answer. Willie, it is our desire to absolutely have real-time updating with Optimal Blue. It is on our dev roadmap, but not available today. But what we do provide is a sister product called Rate Watch that is free to the loan originator, free to all you guys when you have Mortgage Coach in your hands. That is a daily monitoring of what's going on in the secondary markets world. So you'll see, right there you go. Thank you, Jacob. So this is something that sits on your iPhone. And every day when there are swings within the mortgage market, you will get an alert and direct to your phone information about what's going on in the market. So today it's a stopgap way. We also put into Mortgage Coach, and you can see in Jacob, if you could just pull your screen up a little bit, the OB mortgage market indices. There we go. Another tool we provide is this one. It's integrated from Optimal Blue, which is a review of what rates locked at the day before by credit tranche or LTV tranche. So it's really your cue to say, oops, you know what? I better go look at the presentations or the borrowers that I have out there that have not locked, and then be able to go quickly and do that pull from Optimal Blue to create that updated presentation for your borrower. Believe me, we want desperately to have that happen automatically. Okay. Thank you, Jacob.
You got it.
Good deal. Okay, guys. I don't see anything else coming through. We will all be in touch soon. I'll keep you posted by early next week for pricing and all of that conversation. Thanks so much, Dawn, Jacob, everybody. Great to have you and very impressive tool. So look forward to talking to you shortly.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.